Support for this podcast comes from Trane. For more than a century, Trane has stood for products and technology that are innovative and reliable and always moving forward. Trane Residential works together with independent dealers to provide sustainable, efficient, and healthier environments that their homeowners want and deserve. The Trane portfolio addresses not only comfort, but indoor air quality, complete system control from anywhere, and diagnostics to help manage and protect the investment, along with energy-saving opportunities through products like our smart thermostats and variable speed air conditioner. You can install Trane and be confident in its reliability because every product is tested to withstand the harshest condition of nature, or our engineers can throw at it, like freezing conditions in our System Extreme Environmental Test Lab or 5 inches of water an hour in our climate chamber. That's how we create heating and cooling systems you can count on to run through anything. It's that kind of reliability that's earned us the honor of being America's most trusted HVAC system for 9 consecutive years.
Welcome to The Successful Contractor, powered by CertainPath, a show for residential contractors about residential contractors. We chronicle business journeys, share insights, and celebrate successes in this wonderful industry. I'm your host, Bob Houchin. As a reminder, all episodes of The Successful Contractor are available on YouTube as well as your podcast player of choice. And for more information on how CertainPath can put your contracting company on a certain path to success, visit our website, www.mycertainpath.com. I'm excited to bring to you an interview with Danielle Leisten, a do-it-all technician for Buric Heating and Air in Columbia, Maryland. Danielle does maintenance, service, and sales. She even helps in the office. Danielle is also CertainPath's first female tech to attain HVAC Crown Champion status. She did it by selling $1.76 million in 2022. And it was only her second year in any sales function. So how did Danielle achieve such incredible immediate success? Danielle believes that knowledge is power, and power comes from knowledge. She will take the time to educate homeowners completely about their system, even that 20-year-old dinosaur. And she gives them options of repairing it along with the option to replace it. And ultimately, those homeowners feel fully informed. Through that information, they'll feel good about their buying decision with Danielle and with Buric. Whatever it may be, repair or replacement. If you have a technician afraid of sales, whether HVAC, electrical, plumbing, roofing, whatever, this is a sensational, non-pushy approach that will always work. If you use sales as a way to serve, you can have success and feel good about what you're doing. And that's exactly what Danielle is. Without further ado, here's my conversation with Danielle Leisten of Buric Heating and Air in Columbia, Maryland. I hope you enjoy our conversation and take away a nugget or two.
Danielle, thank you so much for being here today. I'm very excited to talk to you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. For those who haven't had the pleasure of meeting you yet, can you kind of share with everyone your name, your company name, and where you guys are located?
Yeah, so my name's Danielle. I am with Buric Heating and Air. We are based out of Columbia, Maryland. Online, if you check, it says Ellicott City. They're very close. And I am a maintenance technician, service technician, sales. I do a little bit of everything.
Yeah, that's right. A little bit of office stuff too. Mm-hmm. What are you doing in the office? Share with everyone too.
So usually when Nick Jr. is out of the office, I will cover the phones. I am transitioning to a bit more of a managerial role. Yeah. So just helping where I can and learning along the way.
Yeah. And we're talking as you guys had an awesome year. You had an awesome year, especially last year. I think you did you tell me what.
Yeah. 1.76 million. Yeah. So pretty happy about that.
Yeah. The technician. Yeah.
Yeah. Doing service and then just kind of rolling into sales, learning how to transition into that hat. It was my second year of sales, so I did not think it was going to be possible.
Yeah.
We made it work as a team.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Good for you. Well, we'll dig into your process and how you approach calls in just a minute. But I love learning people's stories and how they got to where they are. So let's talk about you. How did you end up in the trades?
I did not take a typical path. I went to college. I got a degree in mechanical engineering. My bachelor's was environmental studies, and then I actually got a master's degree in urban and regional planning. Sounds a lot wordier than it is. It's a very broad topic, but I focused on energy and energy efficiency. how to incorporate that at a small level as well as a community level.
Yeah.
And from there, I did consulting in DC, and I was a consultant for the energy efficiency programs run by the utilities.
Wow. Okay.
In true DC consulting fashion, when we lost contracts, junior associates got laid off.
Oh, sure.
And I learned very quickly in that position that I just was not made to sit behind a desk. There are days where sitting behind a desk, I can get a lot done, but if it's 40, 50, 60 hours a week, I just will, it's not my thing.
Sure.
During that time of being laid off, after panicking, applying to like 100 jobs in 3 days, I kind of had, I guess you can call it a come to Jesus moment, and opted to go into trade school because growing up, I loved working with my hands. My dad was very mechanical, like DIY kind of guy.
Yeah.
Working on cars with him, helping him around the house with various projects. I remember one of my favorite memories was helping him and my grandfather build an addition onto our deck that wrapped around the pool. I helped as a child, but went to trade school, and I was 30 in trade school, so I wasn't a typical age. So I got poached pretty quick out of trade school, and then after about a year and a half, wound up at Buric.
Wow. Now, how'd you decide HVAC for some other trades?
So actually, it was very interesting. I originally thought I would want to be an electrician because of the energy efficiency. I was just thinking, hey, solar would be a perfect fit.
Yeah.
And actually at Lincoln Tech, you only learn about solar in the HVAC tract.
Interesting.
They don't do it at all in electrical, even though that the school time there is twice as long. So I went into HVAC and I was like, hey, this is actually where people typically use 40 to 60% of their energy of their household is with air movement. So yeah, it just kind of happened.
And then how did you get linked up with Buric?
So during COVID, my company that I started with, they offered a temporary layoff to employees because it was March. It was our slow season. I took it because I hadn't had a vacation in like 6 years at that point. And I was like, this would be great to just hang out at home. And some of the guys that I went to trade school with, I was talking to them. I wasn't particularly happy with the company I was at the time. And one of them was like, I think you might be a perfect fit for the company I was working with. He had COPD, so he decided to leave during COVID because of the scare. I interviewed with Nick Jr. I did a telephone interview with Nick Sr., the owner of the company. We hit it off perfectly, and I've honestly never been happier at a job in my life. So yeah, it's been great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very good. Let's talk about, so, you know, you had this trade, the trade school experience, but this whole way of kind of the CertainPath method of delivering service. So how did you what kind of onboarding did they do with you to start kind of learning that, you know, service process? Did you go to some of our trainings right away, or was it all in-house?
So a little bit of it was in-house. With Buric, it was kind of just hit the field right away.
You're in a small company.
But once Nick Jr. and I were talking about how he envisioned the future of the company, and we started talking more, he was just like, hey, you kind of want to like learn the ropes with me, you know, and be more of a player in that. And that's when he was just like, why don't we try, you know, service essentials? Hey, you want to check out some videos on the hub? Then he signed me up for a selling tech class, and then just a couple more classes. And most recently we did emotional intelligence. So it's just kind of stacking the knowledge base, and it's worked out really well. Yeah, actually.
Yeah. How fast did you take like service essentials and then the sales class? Was that pretty quick?
They were probably 6 to 8 months apart.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was probably a good maybe about 5-6 months at Buric before doing service essentials. So it did take a while because we were still getting our footing. I joined Buric the same day as another technician, and at the time we were the only two that wasn't family.
Right.
So it was hit the ground running.
Yeah.
And you know, during the slow season, that's when it was just like, oh, actually, let's do some trainings. Let's learn a little more. And yeah, once we started doing those trainings, it started going a little more of a rapid pace because we started seeing the benefits.
How long did it take for you to earn the right to sell? Well, how many years was it? Like after a year, or was that right away?
So I was with Buric. I joined June of 2020. I believe I started selling in early 2021.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
a year. That's
So I had been in the industry for about 2.5, 3 years.
Yeah.
At that point. Yeah.
yeah. But you'd earned your shirt. I mean, they
Yes.
see. Okay.
Yeah.
He knows what you're doing.
Right.
That's great. Okay. And at that point, did you go to any of ours, like the sales training, before you started selling, or
The webinar version. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I know SD taught a class and Cody taught a class. I can't remember which one was which. But they were kind of crucial.
Yeah.
Because very technical brain. I love helping people, but it was really learning kind of slowing down, reading the customer, and obviously my numbers took off from there.
That's great. That's great. Okay, let's dig into your process a little bit. So let's say, you're going on a service call. Do you make a contact with a homeowner, or does the office call before you?
When I'm on my way?
Yes.
Yeah. So the office will put either call on the way or text on the way. So we do whatever the customer requests. A lot more frequently these days is text on the way. So I'll just say, hi, this is Danielle with Buric. Just want to let you know my current ETA is 25 minutes. Or something to that effect. Pretty quickly, I'll usually get a message back because I've realized when I call, I'm getting a lot of voicemails.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Very good. Now, what do you do personally to prepare for that call? Is it just kind of going through whatever notes were captured?
Yes.
How do you get yourself mentally prepared? Maybe you had a rough call one before or something. How do you get kind of ready for the next call?
So it honestly is just reflective of the prior call. If it's my first call of the day, I'm usually just like, yeah, let's go get it.
Yeah.
If I am leaving from a rough call, sometimes, we live in an area where there's frequently parks. So I might pull off into some green space, take a minute.
Yeah.
Breathe if the call was particularly bad, and then head to the call. Because usually, at least people in the DC, Maryland area know that traffic is real. So if I'm 2-3 minutes later than what I gave them, they will assume traffic. So if I just need that breathing moment, I take it.
Good for you.
Otherwise, once I pull away from the house I was just at, I'll pull over, see if there's history. If it's a first time call, just go. And usually when I pull into their neighborhood, I'll just start kind of scoping the houses.
Yeah.
Because usually you can see if they got one system, two systems typically in that house, stuff like that, to kind of just prep myself.
Sure. Very good. All right. So you pull up to the home, you don't linger too long, get up to the front door, knock, back up, all that good stuff. They invite you into the home. What do you do to kind of set the tone for the rest of the call, to kind of make that early connection? Is it a simple compliment? Are there certain go-to questions you always like to fall back on? What do you do?
I kind of let it happen organically.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's from COVID or what, but I've arrived on calls and people, if they're not on a Zoom call actively, have actually seemed a little more social than usual.
Yeah.
So, I'll just say, hey, I'm Danielle with Buric, especially if it's a first-time customer, ask if I'm parked okay. And then preface what the call is. It looks like I'm here for a no heat, just start kind of asking my questions gently. Has it happened before? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
And based off of their answers, that's when I'll find something to kind of, I don't want to say dig into, but to that degree.
Interject something.
Yeah. Just like, oh, you're a new homeowner. When did you move in? Hey, this is your first breakdown. So you probably don't know the age of your system, stuff like that. And I've really connected with people because I became a new homeowner during 2022. So, just talking about how crazy the market was, stuff like that, the process that they went through, and just kind of let it go from there.
Does that happen in the doorway, or do you go ask to kind of sit down somewhere or stand somewhere?
I will say a lot of people will lead me to the system.
Right.
I don't stop them.
Technician.
Yeah. I don't stop them. It's, sometimes I will just say, oh, before you lead me all the way down there, do you mind showing me where the thermostat is?
What?
So that I don't have to make you come all the way back upstairs, and show me after that. But I don't stop people from doing that because I know that's what I'm there for. And if that's what they're most comfortable with, a lot of times during conversation, we might stop somewhere midway and just keep talking. And, so I let the customer kind of take the lead and that kind of, for the most part, seems to relax.
Okay.
Yeah.
What other, you start going through some of the questions, we have like I guess you're there for the repair calls. So you're not really going into the comfort survey stuff at that point.
Yeah.
So so kind of talk about the process. So if it's, say, a no heat call, let's start with one of them. What's your process? You look at the system and you kind of find out what the problem is.
Right.
Well, I'm assuming the homeowner goes at that point, right? Will you go to him or her to come back to see maybe if you have a component that you can show that's broken? Or how do you manage that?
I love bringing the customer to the system if they're able.
Yeah.
Because when you have it right there in front of you, it's so much easier, like, especially if it's, say, like a gas furnace, I can just say a very simple breakdown of like, this leads to this, leads to this. And we broke down here, and that's just why it's not turning on. And then kind of explaining the process. And then that's where I'll lead into, oh, I notice you are using this type of filter. Does anyone in the home have allergies? So that's when I'll start kind of planting those seeds of like, let's think of more of what's the immediate problem and just kind of go through the entire system in its whole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. And so they say, oh man, look at that broken cord, whatever.
Yeah.
And what's your next step? You're like, okay, I just wanted to let you know what's going on. At what point do you kind of bring up, maybe this is a good opportunity to think about replacement? Do you let them bring it up to you, or do you bring it up sometime?
If they don't bring it up, I will bring it up. It's all going to be age-based in the breakdown. So if it's something a little more serious, let's say the inducer motor breaks down, then that's when I'm saying, oh, this kind of is a large factor to the system's operation. And, if your furnace is 19 years old, honestly, with the supply chain issues we're having, if we can even get the part, it's going to be a little on the pricier side. So let's kind of like, let's talk through every single option that we have available to you, because knowledge is power, and you're not going to feel comfortable with whatever decision you make until you have all of the information in front of you. So that's where we might kind of go sit down at the kitchen table or on the couch and just run all of the facts and figures per se. And then of course, like a lot of people might ask what my recommendation is, and I will always give that. If it seems like a very obvious thing, I would just say, I think this is going to be the best move for you.
Right.
Because certain breakdowns, you don't know the full operation of the system until that part's replaced, and it's much more of a risk. So making them aware of the risks with, one option versus another option.
We say in a situation, I would say, as a motor, will you even give the repair option, or will you go right into the sales process and giving through?
I will always give the repair option.
Okay.
And that's because I want them to know every option that's available. I will always just, like if it's a certain brand that I can look up instantly to see if the part's available, then I'll just say, I would love to give you the repair option, but it does appear that this part is not available. The ETA for the part is such and such time, or is no longer available, period. So this is going to be the next step for you. Yeah.
How much will you go into when you're finding, I don't know, you've got a bad compressor? But do you try to avoid, I should probably, excuse me, try to rephrase it. I'm sure you try to avoid tech talk, right? You want to, do you try, there are certain analogies that you use all the time to explain what some of these components are? I mean, do you have any examples you share with people?
Sure. I love finding out the profession of whomever I'm in the house with. Because we do have in the area that we are in, like the greater DC area, there are a ton of engineers and like really, really like well-educated people. So sometimes the tech talk is preferred depending on the person. But like, for example, I was in the house of a nurse. and the compressor did go. So it was kind of a perfect example. So explaining that the compressor is essentially the heart of the system, moving the refrigerant like blood throughout, and when that fails, that can be a very, very temperamental breakdown, because it's one of those things that, can you do something to repair a heart? Yeah, but we're involving other risks. So using tons of metaphors is like something that I love. I love learning new metaphors that other technicians use to explain parts. So yeah, and kind of gearing it toward the knowledge base that the customer has. So yeah, that's like what I love doing.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Do you guys have like with furnaces? Because I make a lot of gas furnaces.
Yeah.
Do you do camera for heat exchangers and stuff like that? Do you have that? You know.
No. No, and a lot of times when it comes to heat exchangers, I have a carbon monoxide detector, and that's going to be the number one thing to show that there's an issue. Subsequently, I will also sometimes pull out the blower motor and shimmy in there, and so I can get a picture. It is only worked out well a couple times, and it's a dirty job, but
it's a big thing.
Some people are like very adamant of like, is this the problem? And I have my like little mirror that I can go down and inspect with as well, and that's not easy to take a picture of, but I will bring the customer and try to show them themselves, because seeing is believing. And it's their system, so they have the right to see whatever they wish.
Right. How do you communicate? That's really bad without scaring them, or you want to be the scare tactic person,
right?
But it's something concerned.
Yeah. So especially when it comes to like a heat exchanger, if I am using my carbon monoxide meter, I mean, I do with every furnace call. But I will show them, because it'll show the active reading and then the max reading during the time that it's on. And if it's something like I had one that was 68 parts per million, well, that's that's past the point that we want to be, but it's not lethal levels. In explaining the different increments of, this is your safe zone, this is what I've called the warning zone, and then this is where we turn off the gas line. You are above that. I just want to let you know I'm shutting off the gas line. It's your prerogative if you turn it back on, but please do know this is well documented on my invoice. And just letting them know it's not lethal, but it's unsafe. And just, I say this, I've said it once, I'll say this again, and I've said it in most of my customers' houses: knowledge is power, and comfort comes from knowledge.
Support for this podcast comes from Synchrony. Ever wonder how to calculate your true cost of financing and how to fit the price of financing into your business and pricing for products and services? In Synchrony's new and improved Toolbox website, you can easily calculate your cost of credit, view educational videos, and learn more about Synchrony's digital tools. Simply go to toolbox.syf.com to explore and learn more.
I'm always intrigued. We talked about like a repair call, a tune-up that leads to a placement. So such a hard turn, and it doesn't happen obviously all the time. But how do you first of all, how do you make your tune-up stand out? I've heard different. Is there a way? Is something you do, or is it your approach? I've heard people take apart the system and lay it out so it's like you're performing a surgery. Do you have a certain process you like to follow?
I mean, we do use the system performance reports. So a lot of people have found comfort in, well, some really love the numbers, like I said. Some people just love seeing that line of all greens, all the green check boxes. Walking people through as much or as little. And that's probably what makes our tune-up stand out is, hey, you want to sit down for 15 minutes and go over everything? Let me, I'll bring the capacitor to you and show you what the reading is today. I'll take pictures. We're going to have everything documented on the invoice so that moving forward we can track, the progress or, like the breakdowns, stuff like that. I don't like taking systems apart and showing everything. But yeah, it's just the tracking that our customers like, because I love to give heads up of, hey, we're kind of on the teetering edge for your capacitor this year. I want you to kind of just think that this is probably going to be a repair next year. Don't worry. This is a common thing to be replaced, in creating that heads up for the customers so nothing is a surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's say this is a newer customer. Maybe it's a 5-year-old system. So really, it's not expected to have a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
When do you start talking maybe about a club membership to make sure they're secured to you long term? Does that first happen at the office, and then do you bring it up again, or when do you typically bring up the club membership?
The office always prefaces that with any first-time caller.
Yeah.
So the seed's been planted. I'm there to reiterate. I might start the call with, hey, I've never been to this house before. My name's Danielle. Looks like you're just looking for a regular cooling system check today.
Yeah.
I know our office personnel mentioned the club membership. I'm happy to discuss that with you now or at the end of the call, especially if you have any questions. So I don't care what the age of the system is. I'm always bringing it up because, you never know what you're going to get until you ask.
Sure.
So especially a 5-year-old system, that's kind of when we want to start tracking little things, and checking, make sure that condensate line is going to be clear, because especially if they just bought the house, you don't know how frequently the filter's been changed, stuff like that. So catching stuff before it's a failure is a big thing for, just peace of mind with our customers.
Sure. How do you turn, say someone calls that's bought the house or whatever, they got a 15-year-old bad equipment. It's
true. Yeah.
And they don't know, all they know is they got to get it serviced, but they don't have any expectation we're talking replacement.
Right.
So how's that conversation? And when you go down there and you walk down with, this is Jones, whatever, you're like, oh, it's a dinosaur.
Yeah.
It's 30 years old, whatever.
Right.
I'm sure you've come upon. How do you handle that conversation where you start going, this might be something to think about?
Yeah, that unfortunately did happen in the last year and a half pretty frequently with just the housing market, with people foregoing the inspections. So again, that's when I'm going to say, do you mind coming to the system with me? I just want to show you the age of the system. And I've gone through every aspect of the system's operation. Here are the pain points of its operation, or it's not working at all, and then going into why it's not working, if it is catastrophic level, just having to be gentle, bringing that up, especially because a lot of people really did kick themselves for not having the inspection done.
Yeah.
And I don't want to add to that stress.
Sure.
I kind of try to minimize just being like, yeah, this is unfortunately something that needed to be looked at, but just saying it is going to be time for replacement.
Yeah.
I am sorry. There's the money that you would put into this, you're throwing good money at a bad investment. And the amount that it would cost to keep this system running, that's a good chunk of money that could go into the peace of mind of a new system with a 10-year parts warranty, 10-year labor warranty, stuff like that. Yeah. And then it's not something you have to think about for a while.
Do you bring up the seed of financing to offer some?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, all the time, because we do use Synchrony. So one of the financing plans that we absolutely were like, we have to use this is the 18-month 0% interest, because I think most of our competitors do 12-month. So we want to have that a little bit more, and that's been a game changer.
That's great. That's a good nugget.
Yeah.
Do you utilize the true cost calculator?
Not true cost. I use HVAC op cost. Okay. So we'll talk about the repairs, and I'll ask them how long they think the system will last if those repairs are done. I won't particularly use a true cost, but I know it's something I wanted to incorporate. Yeah. But I'm like, if I'm using one or the other, I don't want to get too many numbers involved. So the HVAC op cost has actually been really beneficial for me in how I approach situations.
Okay, so you use that just like on a tune-up call where it's an older system that's not functioning. Okay.
Yeah.
Because bottom line, I don't care what you use, but you can show people you're really probably saving money over the long haul. A new system that's highly efficient versus your 30-year-old box.
I went over it with a customer actually about a week ago, and his system was very old. and putting in that system's information. And then the system that when I was going through the different options, the one that he was most interested in, he put that in, and the actual cost savings over the lifespan was more than the system itself cost. And he was just like, well, this is a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's just like, of course I'm going to do that. This is my forever home, so I'd rather make that investment.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. So a little bit ago, we talked about you got to the options step. How do you? So you have the one option that's the repair option if it's a repair call.
Yeah.
How do your other three options differentiate from one another?
Yeah. So there's we're going to be using the must, should, could. So I always give them, this is the absolute bare minimum you can do to get the system up and running. Here's bare minimum plus what, depending on what the breakdown was, what would avoid this same breakdown in the future.
Yeah.
If it's like condensate lines are clogged, condensate lines plus a water safety, maybe some better filtration option to, prevent as much dust through, stuff like that. And then, giving the option of just a full-blown replacement. Yeah.
So you'll lay out the must, should, could, and then they'll go, Danielle, we talked. This doesn't make sense, right? So
Yeah.
you're like, okay. So then you reset and you amazing on an iPad or something. You show the replacement options thereafter.
Currently, we're still doing paper estimates.
Yeah.
So
you handwrite them right in front of them, and you have that conversation.
out in my truck. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because a lot of the issue right now is availability of equipment. So I always try to give at minimum 2 systems that are readily available.
Yeah.
But depending on the customer situation, maybe it is just a tune-up and it's old. It's working. It's just not working well. I might give a couple options that would take like maybe a week to get the equipment because of a discussion that we had. They're like, oh, I just really love Carrier.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you Carrier options, but if it's just Carrier options, I'm just going to give you, that baseline efficiency and a couple steps up and maybe that infinity option at the end.
Yeah.
And go through everything and just be like, hey, Mrs. Jones, based off our conversation, I know you wanted something a little more energy efficient. That seems to be option 3 that I listed here. It isn't readily available, but your system's in good shape. Would you prefer to wait and get what you want rather than just get what we have available? Yeah. So it's always kind of a mix of that on every estimate.
Have you showed it with cancellations with that then if you don't have?
Honestly, I haven't. Yeah, because especially if the install's going to be farther out, I'm going to collect a deposit.
Okay.
Yeah.
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 Make sure it's secure.
Yeah.
Good. All right. So I wanted to add, I passed over a little bit earlier because it can come up on obviously repair calls.
Yeah.
Replacements. IQ. Do you sell a lot of IQ?
Yeah, actually.
On repair and like tune-up calls, you try to...
Not a ton of tune-ups. Repairs, it kind of depends on the repair and also the age of the system. Because I will have that conversation of, we're doing this repair today, the system's 18, and you just kind of wanted to limp by to maybe do it during the install during a shoulder season, something. I might just say, if you are planning on replacing in the near future, let's do the whole system all at once. So we do a ton of air cleaners. It's kind of hit or miss on whether customers prefer an APCO or an iWave. Some people really like the idea of a UV light on their coil. Some people like the idea of not having to replace a bulb every 3 years.
Sure.
Stuff like that. But especially in Maryland, the allergies are like crazy with the amount of pollen. Yeah. So a lot of people are very interested in just not having to wake up with stuffed sinuses in the morning. Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty popular, and honestly, the April air cleaners sell themselves. If you have a 1-inch filter and you're spending $8-10 a month to replace a filter, if you're going to be in your house for a while, you get the return on investment and better indoor air quality for the air cleaner being installed on your system. Yeah.
So it just sells itself.
Yes. Yeah. Because you get you're gonna get probably less breakdowns, better airflow because you're not getting a bunch of dust building up inside the system, stuff like that. And you only have to replace your filter once or twice a year, depending on the lifestyle you have. Yeah.
Very good. All right, so you roll out your let's go back to the replacement options. And Danielle, I didn't expect this much. Now, granted, you have the financing, right?
Yes.
We talked, that's a big tool. How do you handle people who are like, I just need to think about it? Like, did you like go out to your truck and say, oh, I need to do a few things and let them process it? Or how do you kind of handle that objection?
I'll actually just say, hey, would you prefer I just give you a minute? You can think about it, because I've sprung a lot of information on you. I know this is a lot to digest.
Yeah.
I can give you some time. You can review this with your spouse or, whatever the situation is. And let's just circle back in 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Because, like, especially if it's like out of nowhere,
Right.
this conversation, a lot of people are just put completely on their back foot.
Yeah.
And just giving them that time to compose themselves, come up with any questions they might have. And then, like, we'll sit down again.
Yeah.
And, a lot of my customers, I'm like, ask me anything.
Yeah.
I don't want you to think there's a stupid question here.
Sure.
Because again, knowledge leads to comfort.
Yeah.
And just sitting down with people, and if it really is a situation where they're like, I'm sorry, I need a day. Okay.
Yeah.
Would you like a phone call tomorrow evening?
Yeah.
Now that it would give yourself time to process, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
One of the things that I do need to work on is, closing at the table. But in the meantime, like I'll follow up with you in 24 hours is actually been pretty beneficial.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Do you run into, boy, I think I need to get a few other bids, or is that, you still like, boy, I grew up, we got to get 3 bids. Do you run into that still fair bit?
Pretty frequently.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things I hate when I'm the first one in the door.
Yeah.
But that's fine. I will just say, absolutely get your 3 to 5. And, like, can we circle back? We have an apples to apples guarantee. I'm happy to answer questions on why maybe this, like Bryant system that I quoted, like to go over the comparisons to the Trane system this other company has quoted you. Let's talk, I'm here to create understanding for you.
Yeah.
We're the professionals and we're ready to answer questions.
What are some of the other big value differentiators that made you circle back at that point? Is this still maybe because of a better warranty?
Labor warranty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How's the difference?
We can offer a 10-year labor warranty on all of the equipment that we use.
Competition do then?
Typically 2 years, 3 years. We haven't come across another company that's offering a 10-year labor warranty in the area. So that's been pretty huge.
Yeah.
For us, and just being able to tell people, hey, you don't have to worry about anything for 10 years.
Yeah.
The other guys, if they do the install, if your compressor goes at year 8, for some reason, power surge, something, that's the labor cost for replacing that's going to be pretty stifling.
For sure.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. You close the call. Well, all right. So let's talk good stuff. Close the call. What do you do to maybe, make that customer feel warm and fuzzy about spending a whole lot of money, and avoid those cancellations? Do you have a process for that?
We have been working on calling about a week later.
Okay.
Circling back, just saying, hey, do you have any questions? Because we honestly install a fair amount of smart thermostats. Mm-hmm. Most people will want them. A lot of people don't know how to use them.
Right.
So that's been like actually the biggest thing on those like follow-up calls of just like, hey, we did an install for you a week ago. We just want to see how everything's been working out for you. Do you have any questions? A lot of people will say, how do I set a schedule on this thing?
Right.
Kind of just walk them through that. I'm pretty sure I could use an Ecobee with my eyes blindfolded at this point. But that, and we actually send a thank you card. With a $50 gift card in it.
Cool.
Yeah, so it's just thanks for your business. We want to know want you to know how much we appreciate you. A lot of people have just called in. They're like, "We're so happy. Thank you so much." And that's
is it to you guys or to like a restaurant?
No, it's a Visa.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, so you can use it wherever. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had a customer email me just saying, "Oh my God, I'm so happy. I'm gonna have a date night." And I was just like, "Good for you, Nina."
That's very cool. Just kind of been wrapping up.
Mm-hmm.
What motivates you to be a high achiever? I mean, you done a lot in a short period of time. You've really grown as a person in this industry. What's driven you to do as much as you've done in a short time?
Honestly, that's I feel like a super loaded question, because I love being able to do something where I'm also providing opportunities for others.
Yeah.
So through the company growing, we all grow.
Yeah.
You know, I like to know what everyone's personal goals are. You know, without getting too far into it, you know, just like the more the company grows, if everyone's willing to grow with it, we're all going to have so many more opportunities to do more with our own personal lives.
Yeah.
So when I started doing sales, Nick Jr. and I, we both were like, you know, we're at that age, we want to buy houses.
Sure.
We hustled. We are both homeowners.
Yeah.
So there's, it's really, really rewarding, seeing others, you know, like through like the combined work of both of us achieve so much together. So I'm just, you know, trying to help like inspire the rest of the team. You know, our installers do a fantastic job.
Yeah.
And we're just getting better and better by the day. So, yeah, just building one another up, and just, you know, knowing that we're going to do the impossible.
That's great. Last question. What advice might you have for another newer technician in his or her journey in this trade?
Don't get frustrated. You are going to mess up. You know, we all do. And you just need to find a company that you fit in, that when you mess up, it's okay.
Yeah.
I had so many like stumbling blocks with sales in the beginning.
Sure.
Nick Sr., fantastic man. I would call him with any question, and I'm like, I can't remember, you know, like, what size line sets at this customer's house? I can't, I don't know what I'm doing. And he's just like, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
You know what? We're going to work through this. Nick Jr., he's great in the office. If I like, with like some model numbers, if you just write down the wrong thing, him catching it and just being like, it's all right. You know, we're going to order the right equipment. The customer is going to get exactly what they need. You're going to mess up. It's all good.
Yeah.
And when you start, or when you're messing up less and less, everybody's getting happier and happier, right? So just have patience with yourself. Things happen, and the world's going to keep turning.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, Danielle, thank you so much for all your time. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for being on the show.
That's Danielle Leisten of Buric Heating and Air in Columbia, Maryland, who sold $1.76 million in residential HVAC on her way to becoming CertainPath's first female HVAC Crown Champion. I hope you enjoyed today's show. If so, please like and subscribe on YouTube or on your favorite podcast player. Please leave us a 5-star review. The 2 seconds you take to leave a review will help other success-minded contractors like you find us and hopefully get a little bit better, which elevates our entire industry. And please join me for future episodes. This has been The Successful Contractor, powered by CertainPath.
Support for this podcast comes from Home Depot Pro Trades. At the Home Depot Pro Trades, our job is helping you do yours. Powered by HD Supply, we are uniquely positioned to help drive your business through unrivaled access to professional-grade plumbing, electrical, and HVAC products, and innovative business solutions such as our Stockwise inventory management program, fully customizable to meet your needs and improve productivity. Our national network of distribution centers and more than 2,200 store locations provide national reach with a local focus, giving unmatched convenience and product availability. We power pros to do more. The Successful Contractor Podcast is part of the CertainPath family. CertainPath builds successful home service businesses and has for 23 years. We do it by providing contractors with a proven path to success, professional coaching, software solutions, and a member community of over 1,000 contractors just like you. Doubling your sales with a 20% net profit and an inspiring company culture is all possible. Let us show you the way. With CertainPath, success is made certain. Visit www.mycertainpath.com for more information.